Hamilton police make headway in their investigation into the murder of an international student described as an innocent bystander. 2 vehicles are in custody tonight as detectives try to track down the college student's killer.
And Ontario's education minister says that he is putting school boards on notice, accusing the TDSB and others of financial mismanagement.
Plus, dealing with gridlock in Toronto. It's been a real problem, and City Council has now passed the mayor's motion to appoint a traffic czar. What is that going to mean? We'll find out.
And here it is. The Leafs are heading to the nation's capital up 2-0 in their best-of-7 playoff series against the Senators.
You're watching Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lena Latafat. Thanks for joining us here on Live at 5. It's been a long day at City Hall as Council debates a number of issues, including congestion. That's certainly top of mind for drivers, especially at a time like this, rush hour. And we are now learning Toronto is getting a traffic czar.
Okay, continuing our live coverage from City Hall, we turn to CP24's Beatrice Vaisman. Beatrice, some things kind of got a little spicy in City Hall for a little bit about this.
They did get spicy. I mean, traffic makes people angry. It makes them frustrated. Congestion makes people, want to do a lot of things when they're behind the wheel. But the reality is it's costing Toronto a lot of money when it comes to productivity, lost productivity. And now we know a person's going to be appointed, known as the traffic czar, to help streamline the Toronto's plan to tackle the issue, to alleviate it, and figure out a way to essentially stop construction from being the #1 cause of congestion in the city. Here's what the mayor had to say about this person who's going to be appointed by the city manager.
Use Cafe TO as an example. One department, one person is in charge. If it doesn't work, you take the responsibility. Right now on congestion, it could be, it could be construction, it could be road pricing, it could be transportation, it could be procurement, because they are in charge of constructions too. And all of those elements, then it gets into different departments. So having a lead, a person in charge, which means that person will take the responsibility and all bucks will stop at that person. As to who it is, I'll leave it for our city manager, Paul Johnson.
So the city manager is going to decide who the new traffic czar is, and then City Council will have an opportunity, along with the residents of Toronto, to keep this person accountable as well. Come July 10th, city staff's going to come back with a report to outline what the job description is actually going to be. Again, the mayor saying it's someone who's already working internally at City Hall. There's not going to be a job posting with an external hire, but it's going to be a big job. I mean, when you think back to peak construction season last year, there was a point where some 20% of roads almost were shut down because of construction. And so amongst this motion added today is the idea of increasing surcharges for construction companies and developers, that if you're closing down a major city street, if it looks like this with pylons and cones and construction workers, they're going to charge you for the amount of time it takes to actually build something. The incentive idea is if you close it down for longer and you're charged more, well, that might actually incentivize developers from working faster, maybe 24/7 construction, to get the city moving. Councillor Holiday amongst the councillors today who actually wanted the mayor to become the traffic czar. Listen.
I don't think that the mayor can transfer responsibility of a political issue to a public servant. That is, the citizens of Toronto are looking for accountability, and they're looking to hold somebody accountable for decreasing congestion in this city. And I just don't think it's that simple to create a czar and hand it off. The mayor ultimately needs to be responsible for the quality of life in this city and to make some meaningful changes.
The reality is it's a problem for everyday Torontonians. And then sometimes you hear anecdotes, Lena and Bakari, about hockey players, about some singers walking to their concert venue because they can't get through in traffic. Guess what? The city does not want that to happen during the FIFA World Cup coming to Toronto in 2026. So they want to deal with this traffic issue and deal with it now. Back to you.
All right, Beatrice Vaisman Live at City Hall for us. Thanks for this, Beatrice. Well, this is the final week for property owners in Toronto to submit their vacant home tax declarations.
Yeah, homeowners have until April 30th to inform the city whether their property is occupied. If a declaration is not received by the deadline, then the property is going to be deemed vacant and subject to the tax. So the rate is set at 3% of a property's assessed value. Declarations can be made three ways: online at toronto.ca by calling 311, or in person by doing this at City Hall or any civic center.
A new area code will be rolled out in the city this weekend.
The telecommunications line says 942. That's going to be introduced starting Saturday. It'll join area codes 416, 437, and 647. So the new area codes being launched after the CRTC determined in 2023 that Toronto could exhaust all of the numbers under existing area codes by April of next year. The Alliance says that the move will not affect the boundaries for local calling areas or the way that local and long-distance calls are dialed.
5:05, 15 degrees. We were talking about Toronto's congestion problem with Beatrice Faisman. Now let's talk about it with our Adjoa and CIM Edge.
Hey, Lena. Hey, Bakari. It has not been an easy afternoon. It normally isn't because it's very busy on most of the major area highways. And we'll start with a minor problem that just squeezed over to the side. So this is the southbound lanes of the Don Valley Parkway through Lawrence. This collision, now off to the side, was blocking the left lane. Always a slow go home at this time of day. Traveling on the northbound side, loading up, actually really jammed from approaching Bayview Bloor up to the 401. Very busy on the Gardners. You head into and out of the downtown core because of long-term road work between Jameson and Strawn, and also that new construction spot through Park Lawn. And if you're on the 401, just taking a quick peek, it's busy across the top of the city. But you know what? All earlier issues have cleared. On city streets, we are dealing with a pretty serious collision on Dundas. It's closed just east of Runnymede following a serious crash, and also out through Oshawa. Simcoe closed both ways between Albany and Mill Street, and that is for a serious crash as well. Send it back to you both.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
The Ford government has launched investigations into Toronto's two school boards over spending concerns.
Let's go live to CP24's Sija Liu, who's outside TDSB headquarters. This is a major development today, Sija. The education minister accusing school boards like the TDSB of financial mismanagement.
That's right, Lena and Bakari. This is about mismanagement of money and just a broader systemic issues when it comes to overspending, spending things on things like luxury hotels, overseas traveling, instead of using that money on students and teachers. Now the province is taking action to hold these school boards accountable. For example, one school board in Brant County is accused of using $40,000 on luxury hotel stays during a staff retreat in Toronto. Another school board in the Haldimand County has to repay $100,000 for a trip it spent to Italy. But here in Toronto, the TDSB and the Catholic District School Board are now under financial investigations. Education Minister Paul Calandra says this isn't just about one or two bad decisions. It is a broader problem, a pattern of mismanagement and misplaced priorities. He says these school boards have multi-year deficits and they don't have a plan to return to financial stability. Here's more from the Education Minister on the issue he has with the Toronto District School Board.
We're seeing so many problems at the Toronto District School Board. Look, they highlighted a report just not long ago to one of their budget committees that identified the challenges that they are facing without identifying anywhere where they could actually make savings. That report also highlighted some of the areas where they are spending money over and above what they are funded for. So when we asked them to provide us a path to balance, they simply did not live up to the expectations that we expected of them of moving to a balanced situation.
We received a statement from the Toronto Catholic District School Board moments ago who say they are committed to responsibly managing public funds. Here's part of their statement. It says that TCDSB has identified over $80 million in savings. In addition to this, staff have already identified an additional $10 million in savings for the 2025-26 school year and remain focused on finding further efficiencies. The TCDSB continues to face financial challenges due to unfunded sick leave costs, statutory benefits, and legacy local commitments tied up in collective agreements, as well as a provincial moratorium on school closures. Now, we did also reach out to the TDSB, but we haven't received a statement from them just yet. But Lena and Bakari, the education minister, says all school boards are being warned right now to spend their money accordingly and to be more financially smart. Back to you.
All right, Sija Liu, live outside TDSB headquarters tonight. Sija, thanks so much. And staying with education news, a disturbing new report is outlining concerning details of how some students with disabilities are treated in Ontario.
CP24's Artis Zakarian has been following this story and has more details as well as reaction. Arda.
And this study has found exactly how dire the situation is in schools. Now, this was a study done by Community Living Ontario in partnership with a professor from the University of Ottawa. 541 caregivers of students with disabilities, this includes youth and children, took part in this study. 29% of students with disabilities have found that they've been isolated while in school, like placed in a separate space away from their peers, often behind locked or blocked doors. 14% had been restrained while in school, including being held down on the ground, held while standing, and held while being forced to walk. 31% had been sent home or instructed to stay home because the school was unable to meet their needs. Here's more from Sean Pegg from Community Living Ontario and the Minister of Education, Paul Calandra.
We've certainly heard from parents that they've experienced this and their children have experienced this. But I have to say I was surprised at the level of exclusion, seclusion, and restraint that we're seeing in schools. You know, we heard from parents over and over again that teachers and other school staff are doing the best they can under difficult circumstances. However, there just isn't enough support in the classrooms. Many school staff lack the training they need to support the learning and emotional needs of students with disabilities.
Everybody has the right to the highest quality of education, and parents, no matter how their children are, deserve to know and have to feel confident that their kids are going to be treated properly and that they're going to be safe in the system. Now, we're providing significant resources for special education, but if more needs to be done, then we'll do more. I want to sit down and learn a little bit more about some of the specifics that were highlighted in that report. But I'm not going to lie to you. Look, I was troubled what I was briefed on today, quickly. But I want to read the full report and really sit down with them and see what are some of the challenges that we're facing.
And the study outlines a number of recommendations as well for the Ministry of Education to tackle, including more staffing, more support, more specialized training. They say too often school staff do not know how to respond to the needs in a positive and safe way, implementing clear regulations and policy as well. Back to you.
Okay, reporting live from the newsroom, CP24's Arda Zakarian. Arda, thank you.
You're welcome.
Right now it's 5:13, 15 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow is commenting on the fatal police shooting of a 16-year-old boy near Bathurst and Shepherd. This is the province's police watchdog continues to look for answers. Stay with us. Welcome back. Hamilton police have recovered 2 vehicles that were being sought in connection with a shooting that claimed the life of an international student.
Harsimrat Randhawa died after being hit by a stray bullet last Thursday while waiting for a bus on Upper James Street, not far from Mohawk College. That's where she studied. Investigators say that the 21-year-old was an innocent bystander who was shot when someone in an SUV started shooting at people in a sedan. So police say that the sedan was located in Toronto while the SUV was found in central Hamilton.
Investigators have been narrowing down the pool of people who are associated to these 2 vehicles. We will leave no stone unturned until we find you. We encourage those involved in the April 17th incident to contact their lawyer and turn themselves into a police and speak to us.
Anybody with information is being asked to contact Hamilton Police.
And a warning to viewers for this next story. The footage that you are about to see, this was obtained by CTV News. It appears to show an interaction that happened shortly before a 16-year-old boy was fatally shot.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah. Yeah, come on, buddy.
Okay, so the video appears to show an interaction between a Toronto police officer and occupants of a red Infiniti, which the SIU says had been pulled over because of improper plates, so a routine traffic stop. Well, one of the passengers appears to draw a gun, which is when police say they opened fire. The shooting happened near Bathurst and Shepherd on Sunday night. There were 5 other people inside that vehicle. A 20-year-old man, 18-year-old woman, and 3 teen girls are facing charges as that investigation continues. And Mayor Chow commented on the shooting and says more needs to be done for young people in our city.
It's a terrible situation. I understand the SIU is investigating. We have to give young people more opportunities, more hope, employment, and many other ways so they don't go and join gangs to get a sense of belonging. They can join clubs. They can go to a library.
And no officers were injured in this incident.
It is now 5:17, 15 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And a live look inside St. Peter's Basilica. This is where the body of the late Pope Francis is lying in state.
Pope Francis is lying in state in Vatican City ahead of his funeral this weekend.
And pallbearers carried the late pontiff's coffin into St. Peter's Basilica this morning. You have a live look right now. He'll remain there for the next 3 days to give the public a chance to pay their respects. And the period of public mourning will end Friday evening, and Francis will be laid to rest on Saturday. Pope passed away Monday at the age of 88. This is due to a stroke and heart failure.
And bells tolled as a procession carried the late pontiff's body from the Vatican Hotel where he lived to the Basilica. His coffin was escorted by cardinals and Swiss guards. Crowds of mourners gathered to watch his casket pass by them along the same path he took when he made a surprise appearance in St. Peter's Square on Easter Sunday.
Okay, turning our eyes towards the federal election. The campaign is winding down. There's just 5 days to go until Canadians cast their ballots and choose the next government to lead the country for the next 4 years.
Liberal leader Mark Carney campaigned in Victoria, BC this afternoon. That is where he focused on the trade war with the United States.
We will catalyze $500 billion in investment and create a total of up to $20,000 in economic value for every Canadian. You know, unlike Pierre Poilievre, I've managed budgets before. I've managed economies before. I've managed crises before. This is the time for experience, not experiments. In a crisis, you have to prepare for the worst, not hope for the best.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh campaigned in Edmonton today. This is where he promised to implement national rent control if elected.
This is a fear that so many Canadians have, that they're living in a home that any day a corporate landlord is going to come in, buy it up, and jack up the rents, and people will have nowhere to go. That is a reality for so many Canadians. And as Joseph mentioned, this should be illegal. This should not be allowed. Just to take in that massive increase from $800 to almost $2,000 rent. We're talking almost triple overnight, just in 1 year, not even a year, in a couple months, to see your rent tripled. Who could afford that?
And Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre made a campaign announcement in Hamilton today. If elected, Poilievre says his government would give police more powers to dismantle tent cities.
Public spaces must be safe for everyone. We will take back our streets and restore order in our communities. And we will give people that are currently trapped in these awful circumstances a pathway to a better life. A life with a home, with nutritious food, physical exercise, connections to family, a new chance to start over. It's going to be a future of hope. And the people who come out of these encampments from out of the shadows, they will come into the light and enjoy the Canadian dream, the Canadian promise.
It's 5:23, 15 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, the Toronto Maple Leafs are heading to Ottawa, up 2 games in their first round playoff series as the Battle of Ontario continues. We're going to have reaction to last night's thrilling overtime victory next.
Well, the Leafs are heading to Ottawa, hoping to continue their winning streak in the Battle of Ontario.
Let's go live now to CP24's Phil Perkins. He's back in Maple Leaf Square tonight. Oh, no, he's not. He's somewhere in the city, though, hanging out with Leaf fans. What have you been hearing today, Phil? They must be thrilled, these fans.
Oh. They're super thrilled, Lena and Bakari. I'm in Liberty Village, which is on the opposite side of the city than the Maple Leaf Square. But no doubt it's going to be very busy on Thursday night because, again, Game 3 is a road game in Ottawa. There's numerous amounts of bars, tightly packed condos, so people are going to be either watching at home or with their friends at an establishment, unless they have tickets, of course, to go to Ottawa, be part of a Maple Leafs Blue Wave, making their way there for what could be a pivotal game in this first round series. And so we decided to talk to some Maple Leaf fans how they feel about this game. And honestly, they're reciprocating a lot of the same emotions we felt were heard yesterday, that it just feels different. Something in the air feels different, maybe because it's not raining, we're not getting those April showers to start the playoffs, and people just feel good, or just maybe it's the calm hand of new head coach Craig Berube, who has really put his mark on this team. They're responsible, they don't make mistakes, they're disciplined, and it showed last night when they were up 2-0. The game was tied later on by the Ottawa Senators, and then to overtime, they were just calm, cool, and collected, and it was the hometown kid, the Mr. DNA himself, Max Domi, scoring the game winner, giving the Leafs a 2-0 series lead heading into Thursday night. Here's what Stephen Lawrence, who is a Kitchener guy, as well as some fans, had to say about that big game and also the series ahead.
It's great to have the fan support, and we know it's definitely not cheap to go to these games, and I'd like to think it's worth it. You're seeing some, two teams that really don't like each other, and the hockey this time of year is always going to be, top notch. So we appreciate that they pay their money, they come out and they cheer on. They have every right to cheer and boo as loud as they want. So we hear them. Like I said, we feed off that. We thrive off that. So it means a lot to us.
It was a new game at the end of going into the overtime. At least we're behind it a bit in the second and third there, but one goal wins it, and the Leafs got it done.
I felt great about yesterday's game. Sure, I mean, it wouldn't be a true Leaf game if they didn't keep you at the edge of your seat, right, and blowing a lead, right? But they got, like he said, they got the goal that mattered in overtime. Max Domi stepping up like how his dad did 20 years ago, right? So it's just very cool to see. It was like a full circle moment at that point.
And as Stephen Lawrence says, it's expensive to go to a Leaf game, but it is free to go to Maple Leaf Square. You just have to get the Maple Leaf app and then sign on. It is completely free, and it's a good time, and it'll be operational Thursday night for Game 3. Back to you two.
Hey, Phil, I'm a little disappointed you don't have a cowbell with you today.
I cannot look at another cowbell. I can't do it. I can't do it. It was crazy. I couldn't hear anything, which is probably a good thing with a newborn in the house, crying overnight. I just kind of slept through the entire evening. It was the best.
I'm just surprised you haven't lost your voice. All right, Phil Perkins reporting live.
Yeah, that's it. Lozenges and water, yeah.
All right, we'll talk soon, Phil. Thanks so much. 5:29 now, 15 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And we're live outside of Toronto District School Board headquarters on Yonge Street. Tonight, the province is accusing the country's largest school board of financial mismanagement. More on this next. Hamilton police make headway in their investigation into the murder of an international student described as an innocent bystander. 2 vehicles have now been seized as detectives try to track down the college student's killers.
And Ontario's education minister says he is putting school boards on notice, accusing the TDSB and others of financial mismanagement.
Well, fighting gridlock in Toronto. Could a traffic czar be the answer to Toronto's traffic woes? City Council has just greenlit the idea. We're going to check in with our Beatrice Vaisman.
And And the Leafs, they're heading to the nation's capital, up 2-0 in their best-of-7 playoff series against the Ottawa Senators. We'll tell you more.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Lena Latifat.
And I'm Bakari Savage. This just into CP24. Hudson's Bay will now liquidate all remaining stores this week.
A new court filing says the company will start selling off all merchandise this Friday at the 6 stores that were previously spared from liquidation. One company official says Canada's oldest retailer is making the move because there is a low probability that it will find a buyer for the 6 remaining locations. Now, the 6 stores joining the liquidation include the flagship on Yonge Street in Toronto, as well as a location in the city's Yorkdale Mall and another farther north in Hillcrest Mall in Richmond Hill. We're going to work on reaction to this story. Stay with us for the latest on this.
Well, Ontario's new education minister is cracking down on school boards, putting them on notice over what he calls financial mismanagement.
Paul Calandra announcing today his ministry is appointing financial investigators to look into spending at a number of school boards, including the Toronto District School Board. Let's go live to CP24's Sija Liu, who's outside TDSB headquarters. Sija.
Lena, Bakari, both the Toronto District School Board and the Toronto Catholic District School Board are under investigation over financial mismanagement and poor financial oversight. Now, in total, there are 5 schools that are under hot waters with the Ontario government, and this is over just a series of problems they say is a troubling trend in the education system, and now the province is taking action to hold these schools accountable. For example, the province is taking over control of one school board in Brant County after they spent $40,000 on luxury hotels for a retreat, and another school board in London has to repay $100,000 after spending that money on a trip to Italy to purchase luxury art. Education Minister Paul Calandra says this isn't just about 1 or 2 bad decisions. It is a broader problem, a pattern of mismanagement and misplaced priorities. He says the problem here with the Toronto District School Board is that they have a multi-year deficit without a plan to return to financial stability. He says that TDSB has whittled away a surplus and turned it into a $70 million deficit and has no plan to return it into balance. Here's more from the Education Minister on his issue with the TDSB.
We're seeing so many problems at the Toronto District School Board. Look, they highlighted a report just not long ago to one of their budget committees that identified the challenges that they are facing without identifying anywhere where they could actually make savings. That report also highlighted some of the areas where they are spending money over and above what they are funded for. So when we asked them to provide us a path to balance, they simply did not live up to the expectations that we expected of them of moving to a balanced situation.
The Toronto Catholic District School Board gave us a statement about this, saying they are committed to responsibly managing public funds. They also go on to say they've identified millions of dollars in savings and want to continue doing so. And Lena, Bakari, also to note, we did reach out to the TDSB, but haven't heard back from them just yet.
Waiting for that reaction from the TDSB. Sija, thanks so much for this. And staying with education news, a new report called Crisis in the Classroom finds a shocking number of kids with intellectual disabilities are increasingly facing exclusion, seclusion, and restraint in Ontario's classrooms.
Right now, we go to CP24's Arda Zakarian, who joins us live from the newsroom. Arda, you've been working on this story all day.
It's quite disturbing when you look at the study. 541 caregivers of disabled students who were interviewed took part in this study. And the students are youth, they're children. And let me just give you a few tidbits. 29% of these students have been isolated while in school, like placed in separate space away from their peers, often in locked or blocked rooms. Now, 14% had been restrained while in school, including being held down on the ground, held while standing, and held while being forced to walk. 31% had been sent home or instructed to stay home because the school was unable to meet their needs. Now, here's more from Chandra Pasma. She is an MPP. She is a critic for the Ministry of Education. And then we'll also hear from Sean Pegg from Community Living Ontario, who conducted this study.
We've certainly heard from parents that they've experienced this and their children have experienced this. But I have to say, I was surprised at the level of exclusion, seclusion, and restraint that we're seeing in schools. You know, we heard from parents over and over again that teachers and other school staff are doing the best they can under difficult circumstances. However, there just isn't enough support in the classrooms. Many school staff lack the training they need to support the learning and emotional needs of students with disabilities.
Everybody has the right to the highest quality of education, and parents, no matter how their children are, deserve to know and have to feel confident that their kids are going to be treated properly and that they're going to be safe in the system. Now, we're providing significant resources for special education, but if more needs to be done, then we'll do more. I want to sit down and learn a little bit more about some of the specifics that were highlighted in that report. But I'm not going to lie to you. Look, I was troubled what I was briefed on today, quickly. But I want to read the full report and really sit down with them and see what are some of the challenges that we're facing.
This was obviously the Minister of Education, Paul Calandra, and not MPP Chandra Pasma. Now, this study outlines a number of recommendations as well for the Ministry of Education to tackle, including having more staffing, more support, more specialized training. They say too often school staff do not know how to respond to the needs of a student in a positive and safe way, and implementing clear regulations and policy. Back to you.
Okay, CP24's Arda Zakarian joining us live from the newsroom. Arda, thank you for this update.
You're welcome.
Well, it's 5:39. Let's get a check on the evening commute with CP24's traffic specialist, Adjoa Intia-Yabois. Adj, good evening.
Oh, good evening, Bakari. And yeah, watching some major problems impede your drive if you're trying to get home from work and school. Starting with these issues, they're happening on the eastbound lanes of the 401 in the Express. This is just as you make your way through here, Ontario. It is only that right lane that is getting by because of this multi-vehicle collision. A number of vehicles involved in this, and the cleanup crew is there. The emergency crews are there, but the backlog is getting slower and slower from well before Mavis. It's going to be backed up to Mississauga Road in no time. Westbound on the 401, at least problem-free. Heavier in the Express from the DVP all the way out towards about the Kipling stretch. If your travels take you on to the Gardner, here's a problem just spotting it on camera. It's on the Gardner westbound. It's at the start of the ramp that takes you to the northbound 427. Have a stalled vehicle in the left lane. That's also adding to your slow drive. And if you're traveling onto the 410 northbound, no issues. Really, really slow, though, as you head in towards Brampton. Just a heads up, in Oshawa, collision has shut down Simcoe Street in Albany, and that is for a serious crash. I'll send it back to you both.
Adjoa, thanks so much. To City Hall now, where Toronto's traffic woes were once again the topic of discussion. And the mayor's motion to appoint a congestion czar has now been approved by council. So what will the job look like, and will it improve your drive?
Yeah, speaking of traffic, CP24's Beatrice Vaisman asking all those questions and more, joining us live from City Hall. You've been there all day, Beatrice.
I have been. Thankfully, I haven't been stuck in traffic all day, because wouldn't that be a complete gripe? But we all like to complain about it. Gridlock in the city, it's out of hand. In fact, it costs the city a whole lot of money when it comes to lost productivity. Last summer, during peak construction season, about a quarter of the city's roads were closed because of construction. Travel times almost doubled, and it really makes getting around Toronto really, really difficult. And so the mayor today tabling a motion that's going to essentially appoint a traffic czar to tackle the issue of congestion in the city. We don't know what the job description looks like yet. That's going to be up to city staff to put all of that together, come back with a report on July 10th to update city councillors. But this person's really going to be responsible for the oversight of improving traffic gridlock congestion in the city of Toronto. The number one contributor to it, according to city staff, is construction. In fact, we have the most construction, according to this report, in all of North America. Sometimes it feels like you're stuck in traffic for hours on end, and there's only one lane in each direction because of these incessant traffic cones or excavators that are just sitting there stagnant. Well, to change that and to speed up construction, the city also looking to incentivize some of these builders. How are they going to do it? They're going to impose bigger fines fines for shutting down roadways for construction. The idea being if you're charged more, you might work a little bit faster, maybe some 24/7 construction to happen to get the city moving. Here's some reaction from a pair of city councillors who really think the city needs to do a lot to tackle this issue.
I think that czar or czarina will be able to report, directly to the mayor. They'll be held to account. It'll hold the general manager to account. And I just liken it to a drone. You've got your eyes everywhere. You're watching all of these things. That's your job, to watch. So how when you've got a construction site and it's narrowed a lane, how are you letting people know? Like, that's the person that would say, boy, that's not very good, or that's good practice. It's upping the game in the city of Toronto with some requirements that say we're serious about it.
Well, I've been calling for this for more than 2 years. I talked about it in the last mayoral campaign, had a motion similar in November of 2023. So while I appreciate that the mayor's moving this today, it's in keeping with the theme here in Toronto that is very much hurry up and wait for the city to get serious about congestion. I think that the traffic problem in this city is holding back our economy. It's why businesses haven't come back to life post-pandemic. It takes longer to get home to your family at the end of the day. And we have to take all steps as quickly as possible to resolve the congestion issue.
So this new traffic czar is going to be appointed by City Manager Paul Johnson. It'll be up to him who takes this position. The mayor saying it's not going to be a new job. It's going to go to a bureaucrat or a public servant already here at City Hall who's going to get some pretty big new responsibilities to keep Toronto on track when it comes to traffic congestion. The mayor saying she really expects to see some big improvements. If not, there's going to be some splaining to do. So certainly it's a big change in terms of actually addressing this issue head on. City councillors eager to see it happening, and a lot of drivers obviously eager to see traffic and congestion alleviate here in the city as well. Hey, either of you want the job of traffic czar?
Lena?
I mean, look, I've spent so much time on the Gardner, now on the 401. I have a lot to say about this. I feel like I could do it.
You're an expert.
Beatrice, I know you too. Bakari, you spent 2 hours on the DVP the other day. Any thoughts?
Not for right now.
All right, I'll sign up then on behalf of everybody. All right, Beatrice.
Not things he can say on TV.
Yeah, gotta take the mic off first. Beatrice, thanks so much for this. You're watching Live at 5 on Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
And Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow is commenting on the fatal police shooting of a 16-year-old boy near Bathurst and Shepherd.
Thanks for being with us again. A warning now to viewers. The footage we're about to show you, obtained by CTV News, appears to show an interaction that happened shortly before a 16-year-old boy was fatally shot.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, no. Yeah, come on, buddy.
Okay, so the video shows, it appears to show an interaction between a Toronto police officer and occupant of a red Infiniti, which the SIU says had been pulled over because of improper plates. Well, one of the passengers appears to draw a gun, which is when police opened fire. The shooting happened near Bathurst and Shepherd Sunday night. There were 5 other people inside that red Infiniti, a 20-year-old man, 18-year-old woman, 3 teen girls. They're facing charges.
Now, Mayor Olivia Chow says more needs to be done to prevent young people from getting their hands on guns.
It's a 16-year-old. They don't need a gun. And where are these guns coming from, right? A lot of them are American guns. So we have to double our effort in keeping young people off gang activities or using violent kind of life, and keep guns out of their hands, or keep guns out of Toronto.
And no officers were injured in this incident.
It is now 5:48, 15 degrees. You're watching Live at 5. The federal election less than a week away now. And tonight we are sitting down and talking about the importance of the youth vote. Stay with us for that conversation. Welcome back to Live at 5. We are less than a week away from Election Day in this country, and politicians have been making their closing arguments to voters, talking about everything from the economy to housing to Donald Trump. But have they been listening to young Canadians? Let's find out. We're sitting down tonight with 3 TMU journalism students who launched a political podcast called 100 Reasons to Vote, and that podcast hopes to motivate Gen Z or Gen Z youth to get to the polls to have their voices heard. I'm joined by the team behind that podcast now. Sharanki Kolanthara-Rasa, Vaishnavi Sriparan, and Pam Hackett join me. So good to see all of you, and thank you for joining us ahead of this crucial election. Let me start with this. Are party leaders in this country listening to young people? Vaishnavi.
I feel like yes, but I feel like there still needs to be things that need to be discussed. When I talk to my friends and stuff like that, they always mention how they feel conflicted. They don't understand like what each party is trying to represent, what they're trying to bring forward. It's always one party saying another thing, another party saying another thing. But what are you standing up for? What are you bringing to us? How are you making sure that our future is taken care of in the future, in the coming years?
Sharanki, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with what Vaishnavi said. I think it's all about, getting to our level and using social media and using all these networking sites as a platform for us, and really getting to our level. A lot of politicians have started using social media to kind of get to our level and address the issues, but, hosting Q&A sessions, things like that, to really engage with youth really helps, and I think that's something that they really need to work on.
Yeah, and Pam, when you think about how confusing this might be for a young person who's trying to navigate this election cycle, there's so much talks about the platforms and tariffs. I mean, what do you hear from people on campus?
Yeah, this is why we started the podcast. You know what, I'm an old age student, so at 60 odd, I'm surrounded by all these Gen Z. And
That's amazing, by the way.
Oh, I love it. I took a couple of politics classes and they really know what they're talking about, but there's this perception of apathy. And I think there's just a barrier. They just don't know how to really get in there and cast that vote and who to vote for. So we started a podcast to say, here's 100 reasons to vote.
So in the past, and that's so great that you bring that up, the youth voter turnout in previous federal elections has been lower. What do you want to say to politicians in this country about trying to communicate with young people in this country?
I feel like get on our level, come talk to us on social media. Social media is a great way for you to tell us about what you're bringing to us, what you're making sure that youth need, and that you're hearing us, hearing our needs, and you're hearing the fact that we want better education, making it more affordable for us, tuition, housing. It's an extremely important issue. It's something that a lot of us are worried about. Women's rights and so many more things that are out there. But I feel like politicians need to get on social media and address it with us directly. Talk to us one-on-one instead of I feel like there still needs to be things that need to be done.
It's to really connect.
Yes, connect with us.
Make it a two-way conversation.
And meet you where you are.
Yes, meet us where we are.
Yeah. I was trying to put myself in your shoes today, and thinking about, all the tariff talk. You're listening to conversations about tariffs on steel and aluminum. What is this going to mean for various sectors? You're hearing about the economy, home ownership. You may not be there yet. Do you get the sense that young people feel left out of the conversation?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like a lot of topics, I feel like it could be broken down into the language that kind of makes sense to us, because a lot of the language that politicians are using is very complicated. And so whenever, I feel like youth in general, we're very passive. We have so many things to do. So at the end of the day, if something doesn't make sense to us, we just ignore it. So, getting down to our level and breaking down topics, making explainer videos, explaining the complicated vocabulary words really helps us as well.
And I also wonder about the level of outrage. There's a lot of political outrage and a lot of discussion around what's not right, but there's not a lot of discussion around, and here's how we're going to set it right. And I think that's what you guys, you miss out on that. It's that political outrage really comes across heavy, but not necessarily the solutions.
Oh, I think it's so great that you're doing this and that you're having these conversations. It's great to see that, and it's been so good to sit down with all of you. Thank you for making time for this. I really appreciate this. We've been sitting down with Sharanki Kolanthara-Rasa, Vaishnavi Sriparan, and Pam Hackett. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And Bakari, we're going to send it back to you for more.
All right, thanks, Lena. Great chat. A special event was held at a local elementary school this morning to mark 7 years since the Toronto van attack. And children at St. Francis Xavier Catholic School, they're taking part in the Anne Marie D'Amico Day of Kindness. This was organized by her family. D'Amico was one of 11 people killed in the attack in 2018. Her family, which now runs a foundation in her name, says that every April 23rd, students are encouraged to wear purple and perform acts of kindness at home, at school, and in their communities. Thank you for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.